Hello and welcome to Chadify. I'm not a medical professional, this is purely my own well-researched and documented opinion. I will be employing a mathematical rating criterion that I developed. On to face number 1, guys. He's 32 years of age, 195 pounds at 6 feet tall. And finally, his phenotype is the melanicid phenotype. A slightly angled shot of his face and an excellent smiling shot. So here is the melanicid phenotype, which inhabits the areas of Australia, a bit of Malaysia, and Papua New Guinea. So this phenotype is actually not from Africa, even though his appearance to an untrained eye might look that way. He's in fact from Oceania. We must take this into consideration. Face number 1, best features in order of importance. First of all, he has an excellent smile with faint dimples. I mean, you just look at this photo here and his facial harmony is through the roof. Secondly, he has a wide mid-face of 1.85 to 1. This is within that optimal, above 1.618, the golden ratio, and below around 2 to 1. He also has a compact mid-face of exactly 1 to 1. Additionally, face number 1 has full lips, and he has short eye-eyebrow distance, which is a highly dimorphic trait for males. Face number 1 has an excellent ramus and gonian structure. We can see in the side profile, the green line here is his ramus, and this white line denotes where his lip level will be. Because he's on an angle, it has a slight angle associated with it. The end of the ramus, which is the gonian, undercuts his mouth. Face number 1 has also very apparent bigonial width from the front, which looks excellent. Furthermore, face number 1 has a straightforward grown mandible with an ideal gonial angle of 120 degrees. In this photo, because there's a slight angle, it looks a little bit steeper. Using some basic trigonometry, we can estimate that it in fact is in the ballpark of 120 degrees. Face number 1 has hollow cheekbones and is facially lean, which is interesting because earlier we mentioned that he was 195 pounds. This insinuates that he lifts weights and leads an active lifestyle. Face number 1 has positive canthal tilt with a downward pointing medial canthus of the eye. Additionally, he has incredible almond eye shape with proportions of 3 to 1 width to height. Highly attractive. Face number 1 has a thick, built-up neck and wide jaw development. He has equal thirds of his jaw, and he has the ideal chin-philtrum ratio for his phenotype of 2.15 to 1. Different phenotypes have different morphological phenotypic traits which are deemed attractive. For the melanicid phenotype, having a slightly shorter chin-philtrum ratio, meaning a slightly longer philtrum, can be attractive. Here's a great example why morphological phenotypic traits are extremely important. Face number 1 has a much wider and arguably bigger nose than many people, especially when taking a Eurocentric or westernized view. But the truth is, face number 1's nose perfectly fits his melanicid phenotype. You're gonna see when we Chadify him that it actually works to his benefit. And now, on to the flaws. First of all, face number 1 has a receding high hairline. This is a massive flaw, and it is impeding his rating substantially. Secondly, he has thin, light eyebrows, which is a flaw for his phenotype. Every single phenotype on this planet benefits from having thick and dark eyebrows. But for the melanicid phenotype, they require it even more than typical westernized rating systems. This means that this flaw is massive for him, despite it not looking at a glance like that substantial of an issue. Additionally, face number 1 has slightly close-set eyes. How do we determine this? This is the exact methodology used. Face number 1 has 100% of one eye width apart for his eyes. That's literally perfect in most cases. Excellent. But there's a problem. ES ratio. His ES ratio is 0.445. This is too low. This should be slightly higher. Obviously not a massive flaw. Face number 1 has slightly reddened sclera, as denoted here in the eye, and that's it. Honestly, he does not have that many flaws. As a result, guess face number 1's rating. Got our blend masculinity scale here. Boom, 6 out of 10 from the blend masculinity perspective. Definitely above average guy, and if you look closely at the scale, it's technically nearing a 6.5 out of 10, but I don't really use decimals and he didn't quite clear that territory. As a result, he's a 6, albeit a strong 6. Looksmaxxing advice. First of all, hairline lowering and or transplant. This is absolutely so critical. Holy crap, if I were him right now, I'd be sprinting to get this done. I can even see some thin beginning at like the hairline here. Do you guys see that? I can see it's a little bit patchy. Being in his early 30s, like this is only gonna get worse. We must reduce his forehead size. I'm sorry, castor oil is not gonna cut it. This man has to get an eyebrow transplant because this flaw is significant for the melanocyte phenotype. If we can get this just much thicker, right? If we can get some hairs transplanted in here and then couple that with castor oil or even dye, the guy's just gonna look flawless. Additionally, gonian fillers. This side, you can tell it's a bit more rounded off than this side. If we want to balance out his jaw just a little bit more, this is such a small touch. For most people, this is gonna be overkill, but we could balance this out by putting a little bit of gonian fillers just in this section here, and then just keep it up. This guy is killing it. He's a great example to all of you guys here of just taking care of himself for the most part already facially with those white stellar teeth and an excellent smile. Time to Chadify. Face number 1. With infinite budget comes infinite possibilities. Let's take him up to the A+ level of attractiveness. Boom. Holy crap. With the beard, my god, it's incredible. I rated him peaking in the blend masculinity area, but with the beard, we're seeing like a slight alteration where it's almost like he's getting a little bit more masculine, but he has feminizing features as well. His chin philtrum ratio, his overall eye appearance, just the smoothness and different things of his skin. I would argue that this guy still peaks in the blend masculinity area because of his dimorphic traits. Regardless, holy crap, this is an absolute Chad of the melanocyte phenotype right here. Here's a quick breakdown of what my website includes. The standard package includes a face rating out of 10, which goes into detailed analysis of over 50 attributes of the face while taking your phenotype and your masculinity into consideration. Then we delve into Looksmaxxing tips to enhance and Chadify your appearance. And this comes with one Chadified photo and a morph video. We also have add-ons including add more Chadifications, like a side profile edit, and there's a quick delivery option. And then finally, I have a full private video option. If you want like the craziest detail, this is it. And now onto his side profile. Again, now we're seeing like, look at how his hairline's so high up. But then as he gets Chadified, when that hair comes down, it's like, oh my god, this guy's beautiful. Like he's so good looking. And the beard, it just works for the guy. Absolutely excellent. This is why Chadification is so important, because when you can see yourself in this A+ level of attractiveness, it totally changes your viewpoint of the world. You realize that is possible with a few small but expensive steps in this guy's case. Face number 3, he's 150 pounds at 5'11". Here's one of the front view shots of his face. Here's one with his friends. He's got another one here. He's got like an upper angle shot here, and then another side view profile. And here's the back of his head. Excellent. And then another one. He's sending a lot of shots here, and then a couple just kind of like on the water. All right, on to his phenotype. For the face number 3 guy here, he's a moderate match to 2 different phenotypes. Obviously, he looks a lot different than them, but these are the closest genetic linkage areas that I could find for him. Obviously, I don't know his 23andMe data, but it is pretty obvious that he fits in this area. He is a blend of the Celtid phenotype, which occupies the British Isles, as well as the Brune phenotype, which is predominantly Ireland. He definitely has that auburn reddish tint hair going on here. He has fairer skin, which is a bit reddened. Again, this is totally insinuating like Celtid or Brune phenotypes, maybe even a little bit of the Atlantid phenotype. Best features in order of importance. Face number 3. He's a straightforward grown mandible. Secondly, he's an ideal gonial angle of 115 degrees. Additionally, he has good leanness of his face overall, and he has ideal spacing with an ES ratio of 0.485, as well as an eye spacing ratio of 103%. He's overall decent almond eye shape, and he's thick, luscious hair, albeit a high hairline. Additionally, he has a lengthy ramus denoted by this green line in all of the photos here, which undercuts his mouth. Face number 3 has a well-defined Cupid's bow, and he has bright blue eyes, which fits the Celtid and Brune phenotypes. Here it is in the sunlight. Facial flaws in order of importance. Face number 3. First of all, he has a very long philtrum. This is a pretty big flaw. Secondly, he has a thin mid-face, although there is some variance depending on which photo we use here, of 1.45 to 1. Additionally, he has a long mid-face of 1.08 to 1, which is partially alleviated by his phenotype. He's average eye compactness, eyebrows. And you can tell here that it's not sunken in deep enough and it just looks a little bit rounder than ideal, as well as light eyebrows, which is definitely a major flaw in this situation. Additionally, he has moderate upper eyelid exposure, he has some unibrow hairs, which could easily be removed, and he has slight protrusion of his middle third. Now, it's not the fact that the protruding middle third is necessarily the biggest flaw here, rather, it's the fact that his upper and lower thirds are shorter than ideal. Additionally, face number 3 has thin lips, partially alleviated by his phenotype, but it's still a flaw. And he has a rounded off hairline, which is quite severe. And finally, face number 3 has a lack of infraorbital support, leading to slight eye bags and not enough maxillary development forward. That's it. Guess face number 3's rating, guys. Boom, 6 out of 10 from the blend masculinity perspective. Still an excellent score, a little bit lower than the previous 2 individuals, but definitely still above average. Looksmaxxing advice, face number 3. First of all, eyebrow hair transplant. Similarly to face number 1, face number 3 must thicken up his eyebrows. Now, there looks like there actually is a decent amount of hair. Maybe there's a case scenario here where he just needs to dye them and use a lot of castor oil. That said, an eyebrow hair transplant, albeit expensive, can have extremely beneficial effects on your facial attractiveness. Secondly, gym. We need to get face number 3's neck thicker by a great deal. We need to get his jaw thicker, and finally, his overall build. I mean, we saw in that photo when he was standing outside, he looks like the type of guy that should have some muscle on him. And I definitely think he already does a bit of this, but if we can just get this to a higher level, then that's excellent. Thirdly, mastic chewing gum. In his situation, I just think this would work well. And this is my referral link for anyone else who's interested in getting this done. Some people, they're like, oh, this stuff doesn't work. I've used it. I found it to work pretty well in moderation. You're gonna gain some muscle. There's jaw muscles, otherwise it wouldn't be able to move, right? And surgery max. Time to Chadify face number 3. And boom, there's his animation. You're really seeing how his face transforms to that 8+ level of attractiveness. You're seeing here, boom. So that's his fully maxed out Chadified state here. Eyebrows are thicker. We did a slight lip lift to decrease the chin philtrum ratio, as well as some fillers in the gonian and just working out in general. And finally lowering the hairline. Excellent. He wanted me to do a slightly different approach here with a natural chadification as well, which he also purchased. Also came with a different hairstyle, a tidied up but long version as well, and then his full chadification at the end. So we got kind of like all different variants here that we can work with. The natural chadification focused more on non-surgical changes.